The Broncos won't be home for the holidays as they head to Los Angeles, looking to make it 2 wins in a row, and we are getting you ready for kickoff. Hello, welcome into the studio. Happy holidays. I am Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala. Guys, Russell Wilson making his return back out onto the field this week. How do you think that'll impact the offense, Sidney?
Well, Phil, I hope Russell picks up right where he left off in week 14 versus the Chiefs. I mean, that was the best I think the offense has looked all season. He scored 3 touchdowns, was about to score 4 before he got injured. So I don't know. I think it'll be great for the offense to kind of continue that momentum into this game, hopefully to get 2 wins back-to-back, which we haven't seen recently. And I thought Russell Wilson did a really great job at just extending plays using his legs. I think we'll see more of that this weekend. I know in the Chiefs game, he was a leading rusher for, I believe, just over 50 yards. So I think it's all positives for this offense. It'll be great to have Russell back out there.
Yeah, it looked like he sort of flipped a switch before he got hurt in that game. And then last week, of course, Brett Rippon comes out there and leads the Broncos to a victory. What do you think, Eric? How will things change with Russ back out there?
Yeah, I think you want to see kind of a mix of what you've seen the last 2 weeks. So obviously with Russ, they went up tempo, they threw the ball a lot, they got Russ involved with some QB keepers. And then last week, they ran the ball kind of in a more traditional sense. Latavius Murray had a really nice game. I think you need to kind of mesh those 2 things moving forward to have success long term. But I really liked what Nathaniel Hackett said earlier in the week, which is we've been able to do this a couple of different ways. And so the defense can't just stop the run. They can't just stop the pass. They can attack them in a lot of different areas. And it also, if you're an offensive player, it gives you a chance to make something happen, keeps you engaged with the game plan. Because if you're Greg Dulcich, it could be you up this week who's going to have a big game. It could be Latavius Murray again. It could be, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. I know you want it to be Jerry Jeudy all the time. And so it gives a lot of guys a lot of different opportunities. And I think with Russell back, that'll only increase.
Yeah, and the Broncos scored 20 points in the 20s the last 2 weeks. I know Broncos fans want to see that continue over the final 3 games here. Here's what Russell Wilson had to say this week about getting back out there.
I think that we're really catching a groove. I think obviously the Chiefs game, we were able to have an amazing comeback and almost be able to win the game there. We believe that we could have won it. But I think that, just the ability to make plays, I think it's so important to use my legs, to use my arm to get outside the pocket. I think we did a great job of that in the Chiefs game.
One of the big changes this season for the Broncos offense has been a play caller. Clint Kubiak taken over a few weeks ago. What's been the biggest impact that he's made that you've seen, Sidney?
Yeah, Phil, well, I thought Coach Hackett really put it best this week. He talked to the media and said that it's been really great for everyone, but specifically for Coach Hackett, it frees him up to do a lot of other things. He's more of this senior consultant on offense. And, Coach Hackett said it's not just Clint Kubiak. Offensive coordinator Justin Outen, he's been doing a great job at just building a plan for the run game along with, offensive line coach Butch Berry. And so it's been 5 games now. So I think that group has really come together and has settled into their respective positions.
Eric, I know that you had a chance to catch up with Coach Kubiak. Was that last week? How do you think things have changed with him calling plays?
Yeah, I think you've just seen a little bit of more commitment to the run game. And I just think there's a sense of when to call certain plays. And so you look back to that game against the Chiefs, a really well-timed screen pass to Marlon Mack that he takes all the way for a score. You look back last week, a really well-timed play in the red zone. Brett Rippon kind of hides the ball behind his back, throws a touchdown to Eric Tomlinson. And that's not to say that Nathaniel Hackett's not capable of making those play calls, but there's just so much else going on when you're the head coach that I don't know that you always have the time to focus on exactly what you want to do as a play caller. Clint Kubiak's able to be up in the box, so he's got kind of a better vantage point to see what's going on, how to make adjustments. And I think that would be kind of the second thing is the Broncos have just been better in the second half. They've been able to make adjustments there. They've been better in the red zone, 6 for 6 over the last 3 games. So they've just taken strides, and it's individual play calls, and it's also kind of when you look at the bigger picture, things have just gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, and those scripted plays, both at the beginning of the game and then in the second half too, that has looked good. And overall, the Broncos seem to just be operating a little bit more clean out there with Nathaniel Hackett being that senior consultant type. Here's what Nathaniel Hackett had to say this week about how the change has helped this team.
I've been kind of overseeing the whole thing, so I think we're starting to get in a rhythm. When you have those Sunday games in a row. Just as a group, we're all being able to work together and be efficient and get these guys to be able to make some plays.
And the Broncos, of course, getting set to face a LA Rams team coming off of a Super Bowl last year. Not the season that they had been hoping for, but they still have Sean McVay as their head coach, considered this offensive genius. We see that coaching system all across the NFL now. But the Broncos, they know Sean McVay very well. How do you think that could help them this week?
Phil, I don't know if that's necessarily going to help the Broncos a ton. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of similarities between the Broncos and the Rams, specifically on offense too. I know Coach Hackett talked this week just about, how much he learned from Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, and obviously LaFleur's in that same coaching tree as Sean McVay. But, defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero said this week that while it does help to some degree, you have to treat every single game like an independent deal. So while I think it could help kind of knowing maybe, some of his ideas, and while Sean McVay might know some of Coach E's ideas, I don't know how much it'll help a ton.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. A lot gets made of this, especially with two of the Broncos coordinators, including Dwayne Stukes. They were there in LA last year. A bigger deal than it actually is, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun storyline, right? Everybody loves to ask about it. Anytime something like this comes up, I'm not sure that it's a huge deal this week. The thing that's bigger to me, no Cooper Kupp for the Rams. They're playing their third or fourth quarterback of the season in Baker Mayfield, and he's only been here in LA for a couple of weeks now. So those are the bigger things to consider when you look at the Rams offense. They've scored 24 points just once, I think, since week 2. So it's been a struggle for them offensively. I think the Broncos defense has a real chance here to succeed. But listen, Sean McVay is doing the best with what he has available to him. It's just not very much right now.
Yeah, talking about injuries, they've certainly weathered that storm much like the Broncos. Here's what Ejiro Evero said that he had learned from working with Coach McVay.
Well, he's obviously one of the best minds in football, and I think when you're around him, especially season, he's so involved in the defense, and not in terms of just telling the coordinators and the position coach what to do, but he's involved in the dialogue of how we put things together. And he's just so intrigued by not just offensive football, but football in general. And he loves conversations about, what works versus what schemes and those type of things. And so he understands football on both sides as much as anyone I've ever been around or ever witnessed.
Time to wrap up now with some final thoughts. Sydney, let's start with you.
Phil, I'm going to go with what I said last week as well. Just this offensive line needs to step up. If you look at last week, Brett Rippon was sacked 7 times. And yes, 6 of those were in the first half, so they did make adjustments in the second half. But with Russell Wilson coming back this week and coming off of, suffering a concussion, they really need to protect him. So bottom line is they need to be better.
Most definitely. There's a fly in here. It's going all over the place here. I think that they like the holiday decorations that we have on the desk.
They might, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Eric, how about you? What's a final thought?
Yeah, just keep this momentum going. You've scored more than 24 points in back-to-back games for the first time this season. Your 2 highest point totals of the year. Let's keep this going. Let's see the offensive momentum continue through the end of the season. 3 really good opportunities to end the year and help this Broncos offense show that it's finally found its stride. And Phil, for me, that starts potentially getting Courtland Sutton back opposite Jerry Jeudy. Let's see how they use those 2 guys. But you've got your 2 top weapons now. Go use them.
Yeah, I think that's probably what most people are interested in seeing. Have they turned this corner? Is this offense going to be running smoothly here? I'm going to say playing well in a national audience. This Broncos team has played in prime time a lot this year. Not a lot of success early on in the year. Now another chance to play on Christmas Day. Let's go take advantage of it and see if they can get a win out in LA. So that's my final thought. That will do it for us. Hope all of you are having a happy holiday. For Eric Dalala and Sydney Jones, I am Phil Milani. This has been Ready for Kickoff.